The next thing we want to be working on inside of our banner is the typography that we see right here. In order to do that, let's first go to our code view and scroll down to the banner section. You'll notice that all of our type is nested inside of a div that goes by the name of description. So the first thing we want to do is to limit the length of a description so that it doesn't take up the entire banner area. Rather, we want to limit it to, well, maybe not 640 because 320 and 320 equals 640, but I kind of wanted to line up perhaps with the text that's going to be on this side over here. So I think what we'll do is to target this area and give it a width of 640. So we can target the area just by putting our mouse in here. Notice I'm not in live view, I'm in design view. And I'm going to click on div description. Then I'll go to my CSS, and right after banner advert, I'm going to now click on new CSS rule. Now the new CSS rule that I want is going to be less specific, so we just want banner description. Let's click OK. There's not really much for us to do in here except go to the category called box and give it a width of 620 pixels. If we press apply, you can see now that we have limited the amount of information. Now if you were to take out a ruler, you could see that 620 lines up exactly with the text that we have in this area here. Now if you wanted to, you could make it go to 640, but I think if we look at live view, that should be more than enough for our purposes right now. The next thing I want to be doing is addressing the individual elements inside here. So again, if we go to the code view, you can see that we've got a H2, some paragraphs, and some buttons. So first let's take care of the H2 and the paragraphs. I'm going to go to my split screen, or actually let's go to our design view. Now this time I'm going to keep live view on, if only because I want to be able to see what my text will look like, and we're going to be using a text that we have already installed. Now you might remember we've seen how to do that in chapter 6 of this particular video tutorial series. So I'm going to position my cursor right inside of the H2. I'm going to go to the CSS styles, and right after banner description I'm going to add a new CSS style. This one, however, will be less specific, banner description H2. Let's click OK. Now, a couple of things. Font family, I want to work with the Bebas Neue regular font that we've been using. And if you were to apply that, you would see that, great, it looks exactly the way I want it to. The only difference is we're going to put in some color and maybe a drop shadow as well. So for font size, well, let me try something a little bit big first of all. And if it doesn't fit, we'll change it. So 2.8 M's might be a little too large. As you can see, it's actually going on 2 lines. I don't really want that. So I think what I'll do is, let's see if we limit it to just 2. That's pretty good, but maybe we can get it a little bit bigger. How about 2.2? Not bad. Maybe we even have room for 2.4. All right. I think I like that. Pretty good. Not so bad. The font style and the font weight should be normal, but that's something that we're already inheriting. I think we will grab some color. Now you could grab some of this color right here if you wish. Remember, it's not quite white. It's just a little bit off. So that's F5, F5, F5. And I think I'm good with that as well. Now some other elements. Perhaps if we go to the category called box, I may want to give it a little bit of padding up on top. How about something simple like 10 pixels? If we apply that, we can see that we've now moved it down just a little bit from the top, which should be perfect. Now margin on the bottom, I think I want just a little tweak. Now we could do that with either M's or pixels. For example, if I went to the bottom margin, I could just as easily here enter in a value of 0.2 M's. That's just a little tweak and looks okay to my eyes. Another thing I want to be doing is adding a drop shadow. So this drop shadow will be done with the text shadow property, which I cannot enter in here. So I'm going to click OK. And for banner description H2, notice because we're in live view, it doesn't go underneath the other areas. So I'm just going to move it up here. That'll make it a little easier to follow along. Let's go to add property, and the property we're going to add is text-shadow. Now the values we're going to add are going to be, if you wish, you could click on the plus sign, and we could say 0 on the offset, 1 pixel on the Y, and the color I'm just going to put in 333. If I press enter, we now should see the value that we're looking for. And you can see that now we've got a nice drop shadow on that H2. That's good. Let's now deal with the paragraphs that are inside this area. So I'm going to put my cursor right here, and we'll go to the CSS and say new CSS rule. So less specific, banner description paragraph. Let's click OK. Now, the banner description paragraphs, we're going to leave the same text that we have here. However, the color is, just to be on the safe side, I want to make sure that I'm using 333. The line height, I want to is something that I want to increase just a slight amount. So I'm going to put in 2 M's for my line height. If you press apply, you can see that that's added some extra space in there as well. A couple of other things, I think a little bit of margin down at the bottom here might prove useful. So I'm going to go to my category called box, and on the bottom I'll say 0.2 M's as well. If I apply that, you can see that we've pushed things a little bit, but I might need it a little bit more, so I'll say 0.5 M's instead. That I think will work just nicely. So we'll click OK. And if you are looking at this in live view or previewing it in the browser, you should see that it's looking pretty much the way it does for me. And I'm pretty happy with those elements. The next thing we're going to be addressing in our next video is how to style these buttons.